Last video, I had this wild idea that God sent the Roman army on the exact same day as Jesus's death as a type of retribution, a type of what's the better word? It's quite poetic if it were to be true, which I can't prove, of course. But if it were to be true, it'd be quite poetic that God would send the Roman army in after the Jews have all arrived in Jerusalem for the Holy Week to destroy them. It'd be quite poetic. And it could be true. Something like it is true. Conversations I've been having, again, I proved, and I made another video, I think earlier this year, maybe last year, late last year, about a timeline. And if you look at the way the New Testament is written, you have to take the four Gospels and, you have to take all four of them to create a timeline of the Last Supper, Jesus' death, and then the 3 days and 3 nights, and then his resurrection, where he was talking to Mary in the garden. And the best way to do it, I found, is to work backwards. And if you work backwards, you'll see, based on what's being said, you have Jesus at the tomb, then you have the Saturday Sabbath, which is a regular Sabbath. According to what's being said, they're buying spices. One would have to assume that they're at the market buying these spices. They're not doing it on the day of Jesus' death. Probably. A lot of people say, well, that's what they're referring to. Probably not. But if that's not true, then there was a back-to-back Sabbath, which puts us on a Thursday for Jesus' death. So either it's on a Thursday or it's on a Wednesday. And they entered the upper room on a Tuesday night, and then Wednesday was the new day. When the sun goes down back then, that was the new day, so that'd be Wednesday. If there was no preparation day on Friday, then it would be Wednesday, and then it'd be a Thursday that he was having the last meal and was arrested and so on and so forth. And I've had artificial intelligence analyze it, and a lot of people will disagree and agree based on their religion, and that's the problem. But if you take what's said in the New Testament, you do get a Wednesday, the entire day, Wednesday. The second it starts, they're doing this Passover meal, which you can do. You can have leavened bread during that time as well. The arrest, the trial, the beating, the execution, the burial, all inside Wednesday. And that's the only way I've been able to get it to work. It's the only way. And it's actually quite perfect. People ignore what's said in John 19, like 30 something, where Jesus is in the Praetorium, and they say they want to eat the Passover because it was a high day. And it actually means something else. It's like it's a great day or something like that, but it's original. And people ignore the fact that there's 2 Sabbaths that week. Some people like James Tabor, which I've asked ad nauseum why he takes that view, and he will just not answer it. He gives you some word salad, and I don't know why he's doing it, but he's never directly answered the question. Like, well, I look at Mark XXX and it says this, and that's what I take it in the Greek word, and nothing like that. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I asked specifically, and I didn't get it numerous times. So I don't know why he takes and other people take this Thursday, this back-to-back Sabbath. But it's either that, or from what I'm reading and what I have analyzed anonymously, that there was a rest day on Friday. So today when I'm making this video, this Good Friday, at the time Jesus was dead, this time, was in a tomb, but there was the normal preparation day happening right now. So Jesus had already been dead for, you know, that would be Wednesday night. It's all Thursday. And then Wednesday, so he would have been dead well over 24 hours by now, in this time in history. But it gets into a video, this gets into a video that I was watching, and someone was asking me, and I've been asked this question before, of when did Jesus die? And we just don't know. And people will say, and there's this video, Crucifixion Quake. It's a documentary. It's from 2020. And I remember watching it too, and that's kind of how I got hooked in with like James Tabor and some of these other people, because I would listen to them, and I would listen to what they were saying, like I usually always do with people. And it has a myriad of all kinds of different people I've never even heard of. But look, this New Testament thing is not that simple. It's really not. And furthermore, it's not even the point. Most people, like myself, we got way bigger problems, okay, just with ourselves, than when did Jesus die, or how old was he, or what year it was, and all this kind of stuff. It's really a lot of fun, and there's nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with saying things like, I think it's this or I think it's that, because you kind of have this idea in mind. But you just have to understand, just like what I'm saying right now, I can't prove any of this stuff. And that's the whole point of this video. That's the whole point of what I was saying last time. I had this idea before, like Jesus dying the same day all those lambs were dying. That makes a lot of sense, but it's not really provable. But then again, with this timeline, now it is. And I didn't even anticipate that. It just happened that way. And it could be a Thursday or a back-to-back Sabbath, like James Tabor takes, and it wouldn't be anymore. And that's fine too. It's just whatever it is whatever it's going to be, but it does not say. We just don't know. And that's fine, because it's not really that important. What is important is what he did for those Jews to die like that, and to be able to bring them into a new covenant. And it's something that they don't care about. That, as far as I can tell, Jesus died. Everyone's like, oh, Jesus died for our sins. Yes, that's true. It made it possible. But not for new covenant people. Not for people like us. It's not necessary. It's not, we don't have to kill something if we committed a sin. We can just use our brains and use our actual loyalty to God. That's what really matters. It's not something you do, or I'll just buy a goat and have it killed and there you go. That doesn't change you. What is involved with all the stuff that exists now is what changes you. The Jews, and the way it's carried over, because everyone's under the impression that this stuff matters, is all these ritualistic things still mean something, and they don't. They don't mean anything. They have historical traditional viewpoint. I didn't say that right, but we're not here for tradition. We're here for truth. The truth that will set us free. And I know it's confusing, and there's all this stuff going on, but that's what really matters. So what really matters about all this, and like I said yesterday in the video I made, the last one, is, the kingdom of God is here now. Nobody celebrates that. Why? Because they don't even know it's here. They're too busy arguing about, when Jesus died or when Jesus was born. You see what I'm saying? It's a distraction in a way. There's nothing wrong with doing it if you got the time. But finding out when these things are, or, with anything, it doesn't matter. The date, when this happened, when that happened, when Paul actually was, converted, that stuff doesn't mean anything. And that's why they don't talk about it, because it's not important. And everything was erased from history. You have to understand, as far as Judaism, God destroyed everything. birth records, scrolls. I mean, everything is gone, wiped from history. Okay, that's why the temple's never going to be rebuilt, in my opinion. It's just not going to happen. It's over. We don't need that stuff anymore. We don't need any of that crap. And going back to the dates with respect to this documentary, what was it again? Christ Quake. Anyway, I can't remember what it is. I just said it earlier. This documentary. It's funny that they get these people, and I've experienced this a lot. I've made many videos about these people. They will intentionally mislead you about stuff. And you look at this documentary, obviously there's some sort of agenda with it being April 3rd, 33. And they just come in and they use one person's response and then another, and they got all these characters and they just cut what they say and they paste it all together to get it to say what they want. This is some sort of theological or religious view being masqueraded as some sort of actual fact. Like, oh, we went into the desert, dug up and I'm not doubting that he did. But the problem is you still don't have a date. And you'll notice that if you watched it, because they don't actually give you a date. The video, the producers are the ones that give you a date. No one really asked anyone what it was. They go to this one person, they go to another person, they cut to all these people, and they crap out a result. And I listened to what they were saying, and I put it on pause and looked up, and I did some research again. But inside the New Testament, because that's the only thing that really counts, what does the New Testament say? I don't care about anything else. Everything else is just subjective. And I've used subjective evidence. I've used Josephus' evidence. I used, all this kind of stuff. Because there's nothing that talks about when the Roman army came into Jerusalem. The closest thing we have to is Luke, who's like, when you see, I think he used the term army or soldiers surrounding the cities, know that her desolation is near. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically it. Because in everyone else, it was abomination of desolation. You had to understand Daniel for that. It even gave that reference. So, we don't really know when exactly these things happen, except from history. And they mix history and the New Testament together, and theology and church father this, and they crap out an answer. And it's usually like a Catholic answer, or that's why I suspect in this video it's a Catholic answer, because they're really sticking to the Friday. Has to be on Friday. Well, that's impossible. To ignore what John is saying in his account, the high day, to ignore the fact that there's another Sabbath. And even in that guy, James Tabor, the guy with the white hair, even he says, he's like, no, there's a Sabbath in there. And he's not a stupid guy. He'll manipulate you and not tell you things, but he won't really lie to you. He'll lead you to something else and not tell you about the other information that probably contradicts it. That's how he works. And he's a Jew. So his focus is Judaism. And that's what he tries to show people, is that Judaism is superior, which is really funny because all this stuff was destroyed. He doesn't understand that. But Judaism and the Torah is superior. And the New Testament is basically it's just mistaken. Some guy it's just some guy who said a bunch of stuff, and it really didn't happen. And what came about from his prophecies were nothing. He's just a false prophet. That's basically James Tabor's view. But even he says, and it is true, there was a high day Sabbath, not just one Sabbath. So it cannot cannot be on a Friday. Jesus could not be killed on a Friday. It just doesn't work that way. So if that only leaves 33 AD as a possibility, then that's wrong. This thing with Paul being converted like 18 months, I think this Catholic priest, and it's funny because like the Catholic priest is like the most sane person of all the people that are talking, and they have multiple people talking, all kinds of different views being thrown in, but the Catholic priest, their conclusion actually lines up with the Catholic priest saying, in a way, because they are pointing to this Friday, and that's their conclusion. But what I'm saying is, and I hope I'm saying this, I feel like I'm getting confused in my head, but what I'm saying is, it's not on a Friday. The Catholics push the Friday, and that seems to be the conclusion of this documentary. But that's impossible. It doesn't mean Paul wasn't converted 18 months after Jesus' death. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean anything, because outside records do point to 34 AD. And I think that comes from Acts for Paul's conversion. But again, that's kind of there's some icing when it happens. We have these lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, dust storms, all these things that it's talking about, and they're trying to pinpoint when it happened. Between 26 and 36 AD, and then we have a 30 date, which I'm not taking, but I think if you want to package it up into this nice, neat, perfect little package with a bow tie on it, it would just make sense. But then it sounds prophetic in a way to say it's 30. And a generation, a biblical generation, is 40 years, and 40 years right after the day, or right to the exact day Jesus died, 40 years later. And let's say the calendars and the moons are all lined up perfectly, and everything's just perfect. And here comes the Romans at the exact same time. Jesus was found guilty, and God sends the Roman army in because he found them guilty, and it's just kind of like this poetic, this cosmological, poetic. I think retribution is the type, and everything's just perfect. Okay, and it can be that way. I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying it's not, because we just don't know. We just don't know. I always thought Jesus died for some reason, I just like Jesus dying on the same days, the lambs dying. That just has such an emotional, symbolic, it just paints this picture of it. And I don't know why I identified with that. And I let it go because I thought, well, maybe it wasn't right. But then maybe that it is with this timeline that I believe is what's being said in the New Testament. So it turns out that it would have worked. And it more than likely is true that Jesus was dying on the cross at the exact same time, the sheep. And then I had this other idea in my head that Jesus was the last to die. Let's say they killed all the sheep. Okay, let's just, for a what if, let's say they killed all the sheep in the temple and they did everything. Okay, it's done. It's 2:51. And then Jesus dies at 3 p.m. on the cross. And Jesus is the last person, the last sacrifice. You get these ideas of perfection. And I don't really think that's far-fetched at all. As a matter of fact, I would actually assume, but not expect, that that's actually more likely. Because that's how perfect this is. I don't think people really understand it, and how could they? Because it doesn't say, but the perfection of all of this, the timing of everything, is perfect. We're talking about God. He can do stuff like this. People, like in this video, they say, well, there's no solar eclipse. that doesn't mean that there wasn't one. God can do stuff like that, even though it'd be impossible the way things are, apparently. And again, I don't know, to be a solar eclipse at that time of the year. And it was a full moon, and you have all these things happening. But, with God, anything's possible. And the perfection of all this, the symbolism, everything, it can line up. It can be 30, it can be 40 years later to the exact second the Roman army comes marching in. I mean, let's say they came marching in at 9 a.m., and at 9 a.m. to the second, 40 years earlier, Jesus says, okay, you're guilty. Or someone says, Jesus, you're guilty, and I sent you to death. And they made a judgment against him. They judged him. Well, guess what? God is now judging those people. You see how perfect that is? You see how, poetic that fits into everything? And it is possible. To say that it didn't happen in 30 is a problem. To say it didn't happen in 32 is a problem. I mean, 31, it's a problem. A lot of people say, even that priest, I think, or someone said, I think it's John 2, where Jesus says, I'll tear down this temple. And he was talking about himself, but I think they mistook. I don't think he was being literal there, but I think they mistook him like, I'll tear down this temple. I don't know if he said in 3 days I'll build it up again, but I think definitely what they were responding to, not necessarily what he said, because I can't remember right now, but what they responded to was, it took us 46 years to build this temple. And they use that as an indication to say, okay, John started in Tiberius Caesar at this time, so he started, and they just use all these dates, which could be true. I'm not saying it's not. I think that's more probable given the information we have when John the Baptist started. We know when Jesus started his ministry, etc. But when the temple was officially finished, it's not ruling out a 30 AD. And that's what they're using. They say, well, it couldn't have been in 30 because it wasn't ready. They could have been using that temple for years. Okay? And that's the other thing. When they say temple, they're using, I don't know if they were using naos or not. I forgot. But I think my point was that it wasn't just the temple. It was the naos. It was like, they used a word, dang, I can't remember. But anyways, they're talking about a certain part of the temple, not necessarily the whole thing functioning. But they could have been using it. I mean, that's the thing. And I would ask this a lot of things about Jesus. What people say, it's like, when you say naos, do you mean this? When you use this word, do you mean that? When how you're saying this, but what do you mean exactly about that? That happens a lot too. And a lot of people take this word to mean a particular part of the temple, and it couldn't have been done until this time, so therefore 30's out. That's what I'm saying. But that's not true. And I'm drawing a blank with all that stuff right now. I can't remember why. I don't know why. But it's fine, because the whole point is that to use what they said in that video as it couldn't have been 30, that's impossible, that's not correct. That's not correct. The temple could have been functioning in 40 years. The temple could have been functioning in 45 years. I mean, it's so hard to be exact. I mean, when you refer to the temple being totally functional, I mean, do you really think that they didn't use anything until it was completely done and working? Maybe. Maybe not. We just don't know. But to say the 30 AD time is out because of it, because of what it was said in John 2, as they're claiming in this video, no. You can't prove that. And again, they're really pushing this narrative. April 3rd, 33. Highly suspect of what it's saying. And again, we just don't know when he died. We don't know when he was buried. I mean, there's a great number of people that really do believe Jesus was born on December 25th. There's a 1 in 364 chance, or 365, however you say that that's true. We just don't know. And again, it's not important. This is about you, the individual. This is about you realizing the horrible person you've become because from living on this earth, all the things you have taken on, absorbed, been conditioned to, all these things that you've been exposed to that you yourself have become. And that's what you have to shed yourself of. You can't be like them. You have to turn your back on them and everything else on this planet. Money, clothes, cell phones, you name it, food, women, men, it doesn't matter. Your own kids. It even says you have to give it all up. And you have to go to God and say, I'm yours. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Just tell me and I'll do it. When I read the Bible, I'll just read it. I'm not going to put my own theological spin on it. It's fun to talk about this stuff. And it's not meant to be confusing. It's just, these people will manipulate you. They will lie to you. And it's, if you could tell that I can tell that they're doing it. But the first time, I don't think I really was all that understandable of what they were saying. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I don't think I ever thought about it again. It's the same thing like when I pick stocks. It's like, I used to pick stocks all the time. I used to do the research, but now it's like, I don't know what the hell is going on. And I do the research like I used to, and the numbers, they don't make any sense. Like right now, everything's great, but everything's crap. That doesn't make any sense. Does that mean buy? Yeah. So I'm buying. When things were really, really great after COVID, it's like things are way, way, way out of control according to what it should be. I mean, some of these valuations are like almost double. It's insane. You know, Uber only lost $3 billion instead of $5 billion, and it's up 20% because because they thought they were going to lose $2 billion more dollars in a 4-month period. You know, or no, 3 month. Yeah, 3, 6, 12. Okay, 3 month. That doesn't make any sense. So I just started selling, but the market doesn't make any sense to me. The Bible, the New Testament especially, makes a lot of sense to me because it says what it says. And even I've gone beyond what people say it says to what it really says. And I've called, like that James Tabor guy, I've told, why do you say it's this when it's this on other things? And he just gives his view and, you know, that's basically it. Fine. He did answer those questions. But people have some sort of ulterior motive. And it's very apparent when you just read the New Testament. Just read the damn thing. Read all of it. Start at page 1 and read the whole book. Start another book. Start an epistle. Read the whole thing. All of it. Word for word. If your brain starts to get cloudy, close the book. Think about it, and then, you know, open it back up when you feel, you know, the clouds have gone away. It's fine. You'll get the hang of it. But these people, when they say things, because I've read it so much, I've read the New Testament, especially the Gospels, over 100 times. I'm not kidding. I've had to, because I'm a crappy reader. And the things that these people say just doesn't make any sense. They mix all kinds of stuff in with it, and it's this, and and they just confound everything. And no wonder why people who go to college are stupid idiots. because they're so confused and they don't realize it. And then they start putting all this crap in their head, and it's like, oh, these are facts. But they're not facts. Just reading the New Testament proves that these people are not being factual. They're giving you an agenda. They're giving you their view. You wouldn't think that this video has anything to do with the Catholic Church, but maybe it does, because they're pushing this Friday. Who pushes Friday to Catholics? I don't know if other people do. I'm sure there are. Maybe the Orthodox Church. I don't know. But, these churches will do stuff like that. They just will. Like the guy, the main character. Who is this guy? I can't remember if they gave his name or not. I can't, he's very mysterious. So who's this person? But the finality of it all, they crap out this big stinking answer. It's the 3rd. It's a Friday. What about the high day? Don't worry about it. Just listen to what we say. You don't want to go to hell, do you? Just do what we say. Make sure you come to church and donate 10% of your paycheck. But more, just keep coming to church. Just listen to us. Just trust us. We know what we're doing. They're Satanists. They all are. I don't see how you can say you love God and Jesus and just ignore stuff like this. Any responsible person, like myself, would say, don't really know. It'd be cool if it was this. Wouldn't that be cool? But maybe it's not. Or this is more probable. Or this is less probable. And that's the way it is with the New Testament. You have like 7 different views, and it's like, nope, that's not it either. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. Okay, Cody, what is it? I don't know. It doesn't say. It doesn't say in some cases, but it's definitely not that. It's definitely not that. That could be a probability, depending on what this and this and that means, but then it would contradict that, so that's less probable. But way more probable than what those people, the ex-church of so-and-so, saying about it. And they only do it because they do want an answer. People want an answer. People can't handle. People don't have enough faith, honestly, in my opinion, to just say, well, God knows what he's doing, and that's who I trust. And Jesus could still be around today. I don't care. I'm gonna believe it. And if someone tells me something like that, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's an interesting documentary, but to take it as the gospel is. I talk to these people, and no wonder why they're so screwed up. And their view of what happened and what's going on is just so out of this world because people tell them this stuff. And they think it's knowledge, and they think they're going to, be smarter or sound smarter, which liberals love to do, these educated people. They love to do that. The rest of them, they just do what their church tells them because that's safe for them. That's the other group. And the other groups just they oppose it. Kind of like the group I'm in. It's not that I necessarily oppose anything. It's just either it works, either it lines up with what it says or it doesn't. And people disagree with me, and it's like, you're ignoring the high day Sabbath. That's a big problem. And you look at some of these people like they're doctors. Like this one guy was like a physicist or something. The guy with the white hair and the glasses, he was like a physicist or something. I think he had like an English accent. He's like, what did he say? What was I just saying? Oh, the high day Sabbath. To completely ignore the high day Sabbath like that is just, you sound like a moron when you do that. What else could I possibly say about that? And I'm not if I was confused about it, okay, maybe I'm confused about it. And I have asked people, it's like, is this the high day Sabbath? You know, and again with like Tabor's material. Is that actually what it's saying? Because really it says like, it's a good time or good, I can't remember what it was. That's how it really translates. But it's clearly saying that there is, and it's typical, that there's another Sabbath involved in this. There has to be a preparation day for it. And that's the day Jesus was dying on. It's when the lambs were being slaughtered. And, you know, the Passover meal and their Passover meal in John, it's not the same meal. Yet they call it the same meal. That's a very technical thing too. But it can work. It can work. Because Jesus was eating that meal with leavened bread, more than likely after sundown. He could have started it before sundown. We're not talking about a person who's following religious guidelines to the letter anymore. He could do whatever he wants and get away with it and be righteous for it. He can do whatever he wants, and God can do whatever he wants too. He can make a solar eclipse up here at 3 when it's not even possible. You know, and then it gets back into, and I wanted to say before, you know, there was, it talks about the temple curtain being ripped from the top, which is very important, from the top to the bottom. And it's at the inner, that is the naos. But then they also claim that there's an outer curtain as well. Who cares? The point of the curtain is that it is, I do agree with like the evangelicals, is it's open to everyone now. It's like bursting open. It's like everyone has access to the inners. I think they call it the inners of inners, the naos of the temple. And again, when they say the naos, it took 46 years for the naos to be built. That is not necessarily necessary to push, to push that 30 AD and to use that, and to use what they're referring to push it, to make 30 AD an impossibility is not accurate. It's not accurate. I know it gets really technical, but it doesn't rule out a 30 AD crucifixion, is what I'm saying. And it could be 33 AD. It could be the first day of April Fool's Day, which is where it fell on this year, for when it actually happened. It could have been the exact same setup 40 years later when the Romans came in. Could have been a day before, could have been a week after, a month after. It probably wasn't a month after, but we really are talking probably like a day. If my stupid little view is correct, but if it were a day off or a couple days off or a day before or something, that's what I would expect. I think a week would be a little too, maybe calendar to calendar wise that we use now, not a Gregorian one, not the astrological one that they actually use. It could have been like a complete week later, in the exactness of time, but really it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and there really isn't anything to rule out. I think it's very, I would say as an academic, I would say it's very unprofessional to rule out such a date. And a lot of them if you'll notice, even with this documentary, they don't ask them. They just kind of cut to the people to form the opinion that they want, and they cut back and forth to get what they're saying, to get what they wanted to say, even though they didn't say it. And these people don't have control over their own interviews. That's why I would never give an interview, because they could just take it and cut it up any which way they want. Make it sound like you're agreeing with everyone else, because you were a part of it. So that's all I really have to say on it. It's anyone's guess. When he was actually born, when he actually died, we know he did, and we know what he did it for. And people shit on him every day. And the people that he really did die for, so they can get out of the covenant, they're the ones that shit all over him. And they've never apologized for it. The Jews. And they're not even Jews. That's the thing. They weren't obedient Jews. They really do hate God. They hate him. And they just make up their own mind. Just like everyone else. They've created their own God. We've created our own Jesus. Just like we've created our own Jesus, right? Catholic Jesus, Korean Jesus, Black Jesus, Chinese Jesus, blonde hair and blue-eyed, Aryan Jesus. Everyone just creates their own version of Jesus. And this is how they do it. They just take facts and and there you go. Someone could probably take what I've said and create their own religion with it. Bad idea. Because what if it's wrong? If it is wrong and you stick to it, now you're wrong. And now you're in opposition to God. That's how you become in opposition to him. You stop being open, and you stop listening, and you start creating your own idea of what things are. That's not what this is for. We are students. And we'll be students until the day we die. That's our classification. That's the only way we're going to be protected. If you're going to go to class and you're not going to pay attention, then you're not going to be in the class. If you're not going to listen and you're not going to pay attention, you will not be in that class. Does that make sense? You'll be expelled. How about that? Maybe they'll let you back in, maybe they won't. Maybe at that point, he would have never let you in the first place if he didn't think that you wouldn't listen. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think, I'm a child of God. I'm blessed with the Holy Spirit. My preacher has the Holy Spirit. You don't make those decisions. He does. And like in John, I'm talking to someone else, born again. Again, that's not what it says. It's born above in John 3, when he's talking to Nicodemus. And then he starts talking about the wind and it blows, and that's how it works. But it's a decision that God makes, not a decision we make. We don't decide to become disciples of Christ. We pledge our allegiance to God, saying, I want to follow you. And at some point, hopefully, he does let you in. And you'll know. You'll look back and you'll say, you know what? I'm pretty sure. That's how I do. That's how I can't give a date. But most people think, oh, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get baptized, I'm going to get all this kind of stuff, and I'm going to be good. Well, that's you making the decision, not him. Jesus died on a Friday, on the 3rd in 33 AD. That's you again being willful. And you'll notice people that just do it over, willful. That's not how it works. That's not what we're here to do as disciples. It could be anything. It could be none of that. We just don't know. But that's okay. We don't need to know when exactly these things happen. Jesus died in 37 AD. We weren't expecting, whoa, 37, okay. It doesn't change anything, right? If you're a Catholic, 37, that's blasphemy. How dare you say that? That's satanic. What's wrong with you? You see what that does? You see the difference? You're supposed to be following God, not a church, and not a view, and not me, not anyone. And if you think it's 37, if you really think it's 37, fine. But you better have proof for it. And I doubt you're going to find it. And then someone like me will come by and tear you apart. And from the people I have talked to, when we did talk about these things, it didn't go very well for them. They didn't take it very well. How can you be a disciple of Christ if you can't handle something like that? Like Luke 17:21. I mean, I know for a fact that I know what it says linguistically. I know what it can do and I know what it can't do. 99% of Christians, I think the King James Version people, only people are the ones that really understand, but even they modify it too. But no one else takes it that way. And they're wrong. Because they made a decision. An earthly decision of what it is. Not what it really is saying. It says that for theological reasons. You know, it talks about putting money between you and God. That's what the point I was going to make earlier. Jesus said you can't have manna in between you. You can't have anything in between you and God. Nothing. It's the same thing. Religion, your kids, your car, your money, your boat, your beach house. It doesn't matter what it is. You can't have anything, a packet of sugar that you steal. It divides you between God. That's why I can't do that stuff, because it's like, it hurts me too much to know that, you know, it separates me from, it's like God is disappointed with me. And I think it is. It's like, I don't do that. It's like, oh, okay. Sometimes I do it and I don't even realize it, and later on I do. I'm like, I've done that. I've taken things and I broke it and thrown it away because it was like 10, 20 years ago. And all of a sudden I start to feel bad about it. And I think about it. I'm like, oh, I'll get rid of it. You cannot put yourself in any position. You are like the wind. You just get blown wherever, and whatever God needs to show you is what you need to be shown in order to get where he is, into his realm. But if you hold on to something, you know, a theological view or something that you like, or because you go to a church, the wind is going to blow right past you. Bye. Because you sold your soul for that idea. You made a choice, and it wasn't God. Like the Steve Grave guy. He could have been great, but they all do it. They all choose, and he just made up his own theology. But that's what he's loyal to, not God. He says he is, and everyone thinks he is, but he's not. And it may just be 1% of everything that he's ever said on this planet. Doesn't matter. That 1%, 1% of that 1%, that's death. It's willfulness. So all these things are fun to talk about. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. But to say, yes, it's this, and I like this, and you like my view, I took it exactly 30 AD, and exactly 40 years later to the very second the Romans came, and Jesus was the last lamb sacrificed to die, and it maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's no big deal. I mean, that temple that they used, I mean, they might not even have used it in a way that's what's that word? Approximated properly in a sense that I'm trying to use these big words. The temple may have not even been fully functional. I mean, obviously it was. They were talking about things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was fully functional. And that's the real point. At what point did it become fully functional? According to that statement in John, it was 46 years. They used an approximation. It wasn't 43, it wasn't 30, it wasn't a third or a portion, it wasn't any, I don't think 46 is a prophetic number. So it seems very literal. That doesn't mean anything. We don't know exactly. Tiberius Caesar this? Maybe. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It could be, it could not be. Learn it all. Learn it all. It's fun to listen to and talk to, but it's pointless to say yes or no. Yes, this happened on this date, and this happened, and this happened, and hallelujah. And you crap out, a new religion. Or a religion that someone crapped out a long time ago. Yes, this is it. The Catholic Church, that's the answer. It's perfect. It's not. And if you're loyal to the church, that's what you're going to get. Guess what's going to happen to those people? Guess where the Pope is now? All those popes. The Pope they got now, guess where he's going? It ain't heaven. It's going straight to hell. The lake of fire. I guarantee you that one. And some people will be spared and some people won't. Don't cross God. Okay, take care.